mix of judgment and status displays at Aunt Karen's luxury apartment in the Grand Heights building. I sat quietly in the corner, checking notifications on my property management app while relatives paraded their success stories. "Sarah just bought another vacation home in the Hamptons," Aunt Karen announced, refilling her wine. "And Michael's new penthouse has a rooftop pool. When will you finally buy some property, Alice? You can't rent forever." I suppressed a smile, watching the rent payments roll in from my real estate portfolio. I'm comfortable with my choices. At 35? Cousin Sarah adjusted her designer watch. "Even a small condo would be better than throwing money away on rent. I could help you look at some starter homes." "Still living in that studio downtown?" Uncle Richard chimed in. "What does that run you? $3,000 a month. That could be a mortgage payment." I took a sip of water, thinking about the actual rent for that studio, my smallest property kept for appearances. Around that, yes. My phone buzzed. Another acquisition complete. 20-unit luxury building in Manhattan, bringing my portfolio to 63 properties. "Real estate is the only true path to wealth," Aunt Karen lectured, gesturing around her apartment. "The Grand Heights is the most exclusive address in the city. We paid $5 million for this unit." "Fascinating," I murmured, pulling up the Grand Heights on my portfolio dashboard. The building's financials looked healthy. My management company had raised rents 8% this quarter. "You need to think about your future," Sarah pressed. "My real estate agent could show you some nice starter units. Maybe a pre-war walk-up." My cousin Michael laughed from the bar. "Please, she can barely afford her rent. Who's going to give her a mortgage?" I checked another notification. Deutsche Bank confirming my latest $100 million credit line for property acquisitions. "I appreciate the concern," I said carefully, "but I'm doing fine." "Fine isn't enough," Aunt Karen declared. "Look at this building. This is success. Premium amenities, doorman service, valet parking." "The valet service has been a bit slow lately," Uncle Richard complained. "And they raised our maintenance fees again." "Really?" I opened my management reports. "I'll have to look into that." "What do you mean you'll look into it?" Sarah asked. I smiled, pulling up the Grand Heights ownership documents on my phone. "Well, as your landlord, I should ensure service standards remain high." The room went silent. "Our landlord?" Aunt Karen's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. I scrolled through the building details. "I acquired the Grand Heights through my holding company last year, along with most of the luxury buildings in this neighborhood." The silence deepened as I pulled up my real portfolio on the large TV screen. "Actually," I continued, "I own all 15 of your apartments. Sarah's Hamptons house too. Interesting coincidence, isn't it?" The sound of Aunt Karen's wine glass shattering on the marble floor echoed through the suddenly very quiet apartment. "This is impossible," Michael sputtered, his rooftop pool suddenly feeling less impressive. "You live in a studio apartment." I settled deeper into my chair, enjoying the shift in power dynamics. "That studio is a 5,000 square foot penthouse. I just use the service entrance and keep a small office there. Better for staying under the radar." My phone continued its steady stream of notifications. * Singapore deal closed. 200-unit luxury tower acquired. * Miami beachfront development. Permits approved. * London property portfolio expansion. £300 million transaction complete. But where did you get the money?" Aunt Karen stammered, still staring at the portfolio display showing her building's ownership structure. "Remember my meaningless tech job?" I pulled up my company details. I developed an AI-driven real estate investment algorithm. It identifies undervalued properties, predicts market trends, and manages acquisitions automatically. Every major investment firm wanted it. Sarah's perfectly maintained composure cracked. So when I was bragging about my Hamptons house, I'd already owned it for 6 months, I confirmed. "Through Shell Company B. Just like I own Michael's exclusive penthouse through Shell Company C. The rooftop pool maintenance fees are a bit high, by the way. I'll have someone look into that." Uncle Richard collapsed onto his Italian leather sofa, which sat in an apartment I owned in a building I owned on land I owned. "Your little studio," he muttered. is the operational hub for a $4 billion real estate empire, I completed, pulling up more screens of data. I own 40% of the luxury residential properties in this city, including every building anyone in this family lives in. My assistant's message flashed. Wall Street Journal requests interview, the invisible real estate queen, how AI changed property investment. While you were all bragging about your mortgages, I continued, I was quietly building the largest private real estate portfolio on the East Coast. Those maintenance fees you complained about, I raised them to fund new acquisitions. The slow valet service? I'm upgrading the system next month. Aunt Karen's hands shook as she poured another glass of wine. Why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? I asked, displaying my company's growth charts. Or would you have kept lecturing me about starter homes and throwing money away on rent? The numbers told their own story. Asterisk properties owned, 63 buildings. Asterisk total units, 4000 plus. Asterisk portfolio value, $4.2 billion. Asterisk annual revenue, $800 million. That algorithm you mocked as my computer hobby? I pulled up its performance metrics. It's now used by the world's top property developers. They pay millions just to access it for an hour. Michael's face had lost its usual smugness. The rooftop pool was my idea, I finished. I approved the design. Just like I approved Sarah's Hamptons renovation plans and Aunt Karen's lobby upgrade request. My phone lit up again. Dubai royal family requests private meeting luxury tower development opportunity. Now, I said, standing smoothly, I have a real estate empire to run. Your rent payments are due next week, by the way. All 15 of them. Alice, Sarah began, her voice small, about those starter homes you could barely afford. Oh yes, I smiled, pulling up my newest acquisition plans. I'm buying that entire neighborhood next month. Converting it into luxury condos. Your real estate agent already works for me, by the way. The room fell silent again as the scope of my empire sank in. Every building they could see from the window, every exclusive address they'd bragged about, all mine. Next family reunion, I announced, gathering my things, will be in my actual penthouse. The one with the helipad. Assuming you can all afford next month's rent increase. The future of real estate was algorithmic and I hadn't just adapted to it. I'd become its queen. While they'd been shopping for apartments, I'd been buying the whole city. 6 months later, I hosted the family reunion in my true penthouse. A 15,000 square foot glass palace crowning my newest development, the Algorithm Tower. The space offered a panoramic view of my empire. Dozens of buildings, each twinkling light representing rent flowing into my accounts. Ms. Chen, my assistant, entered with the latest updates. Hong Kong acquisition complete. London portfolio expanding as projected. And your family is here. All of them. Yes. Aunt Karen tried to use her old VIP resident status to access the private elevator. I smiled, watching them on the security feed, huddled in the lobby like tourists. Gone were the designer outfits and arrogant postures. Amazing what 6 months of knowing your landlord could do. Send them up, I said, activating the penthouse's full display mode. Every window became a smart surface, showing real-time data from my property empire. They entered cautiously, eyes wide at the true scope of my success. Welcome to my starter home, I said as holographic property models floated around us. Quite a step up from that studio, isn't it? My phone buzzed continuously. Asterisk, Chinese Sovereign Wealth Fund. $5 billion investment approved. Asterisk, NYC landmark acquisition closing tomorrow. $800 million. Asterisk, Forbes cover story. The algorithm queen reshapes real estate. Your old apartments have been renovated, I mentioned casually. The rent adjustments will reflect the improvements. About that, Michael cleared his throat. My rooftop pool is being converted into a drone landing pad, I finished. The building's new tech executive tenants requested it. Your lease is up next month, by the way. Sarah clutched her property listings, now worthless since I controlled the market. We've been looking at other neighborhoods. Which ones? I pulled up my ownership map. The city glowed with my properties spreading like a digital empire. The Heights. My River District. Also mine. That charming historic area you were considering? Just bought it this morning. Aunt Karen stepped forward, her voice lacking its former authority. Alice, we were wrong about you. Obviously, I agreed, bringing up my latest acquisition plans. While you were bragging about mortgages, I was revolutionizing real estate investment. That algorithm you dismissed? It's now worth more than all your properties combined. The screens displayed my company's updated numbers. Asterisk global properties, 200 plus buildings. Asterisk portfolio value, $10 billion. Asterisk annual revenue, $2 billion. Asterisk AI platform licensing, $500 million. Remember when you said I needed to think about my future? I gestured to the empire spread before us. I wasn't just thinking about it. I was building it. One building at a time. My assistant interrupted. Middle Eastern Sovereign Wealth Fund is ready to discuss the $10 billion development deal. Speaking of development, I turned to my family. Those luxury buildings you're so proud to live in? They're being converted into smart properties. Rent will be adjusted accordingly. Smart properties? Uncle Richard asked nervously. AI-managed living spaces. Automated everything. The future of residential real estate. I smiled. Don't worry, as family you'll get priority on the waiting list. After the tech executives, of course. My phone lit up. Time magazine, Person of the Year, the woman who digitized real estate. Now, I said, walking to my private elevator, I have a global empire to run. Your new leases are in the foyer. The terms are non-negotiable. Alice, Aunt Karen called out, about next year's reunion. We'll be here again, I confirmed. Assuming you can still afford to live in my buildings. I hear there's some nice starter homes in the suburbs. Outside my territory. For now. The elevator doors opened to my private helipad, where my next meeting awaited. Below, my buildings stretched to the horizon, each one a monument to the empire I'd built while they weren't looking. One last thing, I paused, enjoying the moment. That, throwing money away on rent, you always mentioned? Thank you for that. It's been going straight into my accounts. The sun set over my city, casting long shadows from buildings that all belonged to me. The propertyless daughter had become the queen of real estate, and the family that once lectured her about mortgages now lived at her mercy.